The subject of this painting is the Spanish actress Maria Tubau. The character that she's playing is based upon a very famous mistress of the Spanish Prime Minister. This is a character and a female figure that has been present in other famous works of art, including Goya's Naked Maja, and then later Clothed Maja.
Through historical research, we were able to find a playbill, and we know that Maria Tubau played this character, that she played Pepita Tudo, that she played Goya's muse.
It was gifted in 2014 by Beverly Danielson to the Deering estate and was the first project of the 100 Ladies of Deering as a restoration piece.
One of the things that struck me when I first saw it was how big it was. I felt like she was ready to walk right off the canvas into the room.
She really confronts the viewer with her smile, with her attitude, and it conveys the presence of a really strong female character.
The other thing that struck me was the colors. I love that blue color, the blue-green color. It just really speaks to me of the time that the painting was done.
We were able to remove overpaint and an aged varnish layer without affecting original pigment layers. And through that process, we were able to bring back these beautiful blue hues, and you were able to see the background of the painting, and so many things that were lost with all this additional overpaint that was applied to this painting.
This special piece of art was the beginning of the 100 Ladies' vision of furnishing and design in both the Stone House and the Richmond Cottage.
I think the unfinished aspect of the work probably drew Charles Deering to this piece, not to mention that you could really see the brushstrokes and the urgency in which the portrait was painted.
There's a passion and a kind of spontaneity in Casas's approach to painting that was amplified by the fact that you can see his handprints. He's touching it while it's wet. He's putting it up with corks.
Under blacklight, you can really see Ramon Casas' fingerprints, and you can see them here and here. And you can really see the vertical brush strokes and his fingerprints going through them, letting us know that he did handle this piece while it was still wet.
Where other artists are very precious with their work, just the way he handled the canvas, it's clearly something that he's having this physical interaction with, as opposed to having this very kind of pristine relationship to the work.
You can see the old remnants of where a wine cork would have been, and at the center an actual puncture in the canvas. And they're in several areas. That's one in the lower left, and there's one at the upper proper right and upper proper left. And these are areas where he would have tacked it to a wall so he could work without carrying an easel from one location to the next. There's another one hidden right there. It's peeking out. I've only seen this in like 2 other paintings in Italy. So to see it here was really, really special.
Rustin Levinson invited the 100 Ladies of Deering, a newly formed group, to visit her studio. And we were given what at the time we felt was a daunting task to make the decision whether or not to perfectly restore it or to leave it as an educational piece for our visitors and for the future of the painting. And we unanimously agreed to leave it as is.
If you look carefully at the painting, you'll notice that there's some elements that are missing. There's a missing foot in the figure of the little boy. You can kind of see where the artist just let the brush fall where it may, and body parts aren't fully rendered.
So they think it was probably not 100% finished, which would be in line with Charles Deering's collection philosophy. He liked things that were in various states of progress because he thought sometimes finished things were too perfect, and he liked to be able to imagine what different ways they could be finished.
We were speculating that it was possibly a sketch that Ramon Casas created with no intention of it ever being displayed, but perhaps his friend Charles Deering wanted it now, and he passed it on. We'll never know the answer to that.
However, it's also signed. And typically an artist wouldn't sign a work that they would think of as a sketch or just a study. So it was finished enough for Casas to consider it a work that he would be willing to exhibit in public.
I don't think you take this thing too seriously about this ghost, do you?
I have no idea how much I believe of the ghost stories. However, many people find that fascinating. So I don't.
There has been a few strange encounters involving that painting. During one of the regular business days, staff would go through the houses and make sure that everything was in place before they locked the houses for the day.
I happened to go into the room where the Maria Tubau used to hang. It was fine. It was on the wall, as it should have been, at the end of the day. The next morning, it was my turn to walk around and make sure the lights are on and the TVs are on. And it turns out that Maria Tubau had fallen that night.
I was on the estate early morning, and one of our team members came up and said, "Jennifer, the Maria Tubau painting is off the wall sitting on the floor and has damage."
The bizarre thing was that even though the frame around the painting was damaged and the edges of it was cracked, the wires and the hooks stayed intact.
This painting weighs about 90 pounds. It's hooked with 2 very strong D-rings to the sides of the frame on wire that goes up on 2 large titanium S-hooks that sit into a concrete ledge. There's a lot of questions like, wow, why did it fall this way and not on its face? Why is it leaning so perfectly up against the wall? Did we have an earthquake in Miami? Who was here last night? Did someone try and take it? But there was no one on the estate because it was after hours.
Maybe the ghosts weren't happy. We don't know if it was Marion's ghost that wasn't happy and just didn't want the Maria Tubau in that room with her, or if it was Maria Tubau who did not like that pink room at the time and decided to go somewhere else.
We determined that we were going to listen to the ghosts and we were going to move the painting out of Mrs. Deering's receiving room and into another area. And believe it or not, with the same hooks, the same hardware, on the same railing system, it has stayed intact for 5 years.
So now she hangs very proudly in the front room.
No more incidents.
No more incidents. So I leave it to you to decide, did something happen or did something happen?
The Maria Tubau returning to the Deering estate inspired the 100 ladies to continue the furnishing and design plan as we had envisioned the way that the Deerings lived in the 1920s.
Part of the mission of the 100 Ladies of Deering is to preserve Charles and Marion's legacy of community, culture, and conservation. And as part of that, we have chosen to restore a lot of artworks because Charles Deering's, one of his passions was collecting art. And he had a special relationship with Ramon Casas, who is the painter of the Maria Tubau painting.
Ramon Casas is considered one of the founding fathers of the Modernista Spanish art movement. His style is typically defined by very expressive brushstrokes, sometimes having an unfinished quality. This is all kind of part and parcel of his very kind of renegade style. A lot of the work in Charles's collection now we accept as part of the canon of art history, but during his time, these were artists that were experimenting. They were trying out new styles, things that the world had never seen before. And so while other art collectors of Charles's generation were investing in artists that had already kind of tested the market, Charles was really collecting artists that he responded to, and having an artistic eye himself, I think that really helped him identify these great artists, which is fantastic because now we know them as these master workers.
I think what makes this piece really unique is that we can put ourselves in that studio with him. We can see his finger marks. Very rarely do you see that on a finished piece of artwork. The discovery that this piece wasn't produced on a stretcher or an easel, it was just attached to a wall, and that we can see where the artist intended for this piece to start and for it to stop. I think these sort of findings are really what's incredible about this piece. That's what was really thrilling for us.